Alright, let me hit you with this. Did you know a small American town once elected a dog as their mayor? Yup, a literal dog. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. From secret CIA cat spies to an entire town drowning in molasses, U.S. history is packed with stories so wild they sound made up. But they're all real, and today I've got 10 of the craziest ones lined up for you. Buckle up, because by the end of this video, you're gonna be the person at the party dropping history facts nobody else has ever heard. Okay, let's kick things off with one of the most bizarre political stories you'll ever hear, because in one U.S. town, the mayor wasn't a person. It was a dog. In Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, a tiny town with only about 300 residents, the locals came up with a quirky tradition. Instead of voting for people, they started electing dogs as mayors. The whole thing began back in the late 1990s as a fundraising stunt, but people loved it so much it just stuck. The dogs didn't exactly pass laws or attend city council meetings, but they did show up for photo ops, parades, and became the town's most popular celebrities. One of the most famous dog mayors was a border collie named Goofy, then later a pit bull named Gwyneth Paltrow, yes, like the actress Gwyneth Paltrow. And most recently, a French bulldog named Wilbur was elected in 2020. Talk about a rough campaign trail. Imagine showing up to City Hall, and instead of shaking hands with the mayor, you're scratching his belly and giving him treats. Honestly, can we all agree that a dog might actually do a better job than half the politicians out there? Alright, next up, imagine declaring war on someone, then completely forgetting about it for over a century. Back in 1812, the U.S. declared war on Britain. Yeah, that's the War of 1812. But here's the kicker. One tiny British island group, the Isles of Scilly, never officially got the memo that peace had been declared, which meant, on paper, they were technically still at war with the U.S. for, wait for it, 132 years. The war officially ended in 1984, when an American diplomat and a Scilly official signed a peace treaty. More than a century after the war had actually ended everywhere else. Not a single shot was fired the entire time, but technically they were enemies. That's like breaking up with someone and then realizing 132 years later, oh wait, I forgot to send that text. Imagine how awkward it was to sit down in 1984 and sign paperwork saying, yep, we forgive you for that thing none of us actually remember. Now, believe it or not, America once had a country. Inside America. In 1850, during the California Gold Rush, a little mining town called Rough and Ready got fed up with taxes, government rules, and all the red tape. So what did they do? They literally declared independence from the United States and called themselves the Republic of Rough and Ready. Their independence didn't last long, though. After about 3 months, they realized they couldn't celebrate the 4th of July without being, American. So they rejoined the U.S., almost sheepishly. They basically rage-quit the U.S., then came crawling back when they realized independence doesn't come with fireworks. It's like quitting your job in the morning and then emailing HR by lunch asking if you can come back. Alright, this one sounds like a Saturday Night Live sketch, but it's real. The CIA once tried to use a cat as a spy. In the 1960s, during the Cold War, the CIA launched a top-secret mission called Acoustic Kitty. Their brilliant plan? Surgically implant a microphone, transmitter, and antenna inside a cat so it could eavesdrop on Soviet meetings. They spent millions of dollars on this program. But on the cat's very first mission, the CIA released it near a park where 2 Soviet officials were talking. And guess what? The cat immediately ran into the street and got hit by a taxi. Mission over. Only the CIA could spend millions of taxpayer dollars to invent a very expensive roadkill. Seriously, did no one at the meeting raise their hand and say, cats don't exactly follow orders? Okay, technically this next one didn't happen in the US, but Americans still can't stop laughing about it. It's called the Great Emu War. In 1932, Australia had a problem. Emus, giant flightless birds, were destroying farmland. So the government sent in soldiers with machine guns to take them out. You'd think birds versus military is no contest, right? Wrong. The emus dodged, scattered, and flat out outsmarted the army. By the end, the soldiers had burned through thousands of rounds of ammo and killed only a handful of birds. The emus, meanwhile, just kept strutting around like they owned the place. Australia basically surrendered to birds. America's had some embarrassing wars, but at least we've never lost one to chickens on steroids. Imagine explaining that on the news. Breaking report, the birds won. You've probably heard that George Washington had wooden teeth. Yeah, that's a total myth. In reality, Washington's dentures were made of a creepy mix of gold, lead, ivory, and even real human teeth, some bought from enslaved people. No wood at all. Historians at Mount Vernon have Washington's actual dentures on display, and they're a lot scarier looking than any wooden set. So next time someone says wooden teeth, just imagine George rocking a set of blinged-out horror movie dentures instead. Kinda makes flossing feel less stressful, doesn't it? Here's a disaster you definitely didn't learn about in school. The Great Molasses Flood. In 1919, in Boston, a massive storage tank holding millions of gallons of molasses burst wide open. A 25-foot-high wave of sticky syrup came crashing through the streets at 35 miles per hour, flattening buildings, flipping cars, and tragically killing 21 people. Witnesses said the smell of molasses lingered in the city for decades. Even today, some Bostonians claim you can still smell it on hot summer days. Imagine trying to outrun a dessert topping. That's a real slow but deadly situation. Boston didn't just have a tea party, they had a molasses tsunami. This one could have changed everything because in 1961, the U.S. accidentally dropped a nuclear bomb on itself. During a routine flight over North Carolina, a B-52 bomber broke apart midair, and 2 hydrogen bombs, each 250 times more powerful than Hiroshima, fell to the ground. One bomb's safety mechanisms all failed except for a single tiny switch. That switch was the only thing standing between North Carolina and nuclear devastation. Experts later said if it had detonated, fallout would have reached Washington, D.C. and beyond. Basically, America almost nuked itself. Imagine the headlines. Oops, we blew up North Carolina. The fact that one tiny switch saved millions of lives. That's the closest thing history's got to dumb luck. Here's one of the greatest real estate deals in history. The U.S. bought Alaska for just $7.2 million. In 1867, Secretary of State William Seward convinced the government to buy Alaska from Russia. People mocked him, calling it Seward's icebox and Seward's folly. Everyone thought it was just frozen wasteland. Fast forward. Alaska turned out to be loaded with gold, oil, and natural resources. Today, $7.2 million would barely buy you a mansion in California, but back then it bought an entire state. Honestly, that might be the best bargain America ever pulled off, second only to free refills. Imagine Russia watching America strike oil in Alaska like, wait, can we get a refund? And finally, let's wrap with one of America's most legendary mysteries, the Roswell UFO incident. In 1947, a rancher in New Mexico reported strange debris on his land. The military first claimed it was a flying disc, then quickly changed their story to say it was just a weather balloon. That sudden backtrack sparked decades of conspiracy theories that aliens had crashed in Roswell and the government covered it up. To this day, Roswell is a tourist hotspot, complete with UFO festivals, museums, and plenty of people convinced we're not alone. Whether it was aliens, a balloon, or just the best marketing stunt in history, Roswell turned UFOs into America's favorite mystery. And admit it, part of you still kinda hopes it was aliens. And there you have it, 10 of the craziest, most unbelievable facts from U.S. history. From dogs running for mayor to a nuclear bomb almost going off in North Carolina, you gotta admit, history class never covered this kind of stuff. Now, I've only scratched the surface. There are plenty more wild stories buried in America's past. So if you want me to dig up more hidden gems, let me know down in the comments which one of these blew your mind the most. And hey, if you had fun with this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, so you don't miss the next time we uncover the stranger side of history. Until then, remember, sometimes the past is way weirder than the present.